So here's the thing. Entrepreneurship has actually existed well before capitalism, well before white supremacy, and yet it has somehow managed to become the exception instead of the rule, especially for Black women. And that's why in today's video, I really want to take the time to unpack why becoming an entrepreneur can actually have tremendous benefits for Black mental health. First and foremost, it does not matter how many diversity, equity, and inclusion programs that your job starts. You're not going to undo years of racism and sexism with just a few months working with a consultant. Life just does not work this way. And these programs have already been in place for a long ass time, and still not much progress has actually been made. And so now you're telling me that I'm expected to spend the next 40 plus years of my life working in an organization where my coworkers and my managers will always be seeing me through this lens? No bueno. Now I'll tell you what this does. This creates an automatic barrier of separation for you. And you can assimilate into this organization as best as you can. And depending upon your layers of privilege, it could be easier than for others. So for instance, if you have lighter skin, or if you have straighter hair, or if you have a bit more education, or if you've become really good at code switching, then it could be a bit easier. But at the end of the day, this should not be a prerequisite for whether or not we are paid fairly or if we're evaluated appropriately. Not to mention, it's already a super imperfect system. Managers already get zero training on how to actually be managers. And so I'm supposed to trust someone to be able to guide me through my career growth when they can only see me through a lens of unconscious bias and can't help their microaggressions. They can barely help the folks that actually look like them. So at the end of the day, we're just out here code switching just to make 60 cents on the dollar and hope that we're smiling enough so that nobody labels us as having an attitude problem. So the truth is, you have to wear a shield to protect yourself all day, every day. And yeah, you may get used to it after a time, but it gets tiring after a while. And it doesn't mean that it doesn't take a toll on your mental health even when you feel like you're used to doing it. Let me know in the comments below if you're suddenly realizing that you're doing this and it's getting worse. You know, when you start your own business, you can show up as your own authentic self, and you don't have to worry about code switching or needing to present yourself in a certain way to make someone feel comfortable. And to me, that's something that's worth working towards, even if it's just part-time. The only thing you really have to worry about is maybe internet trolls, and then if they show up, you just block and delete, and the system takes care of it for you. You are essentially creating a space where you can be free from the nonsense. And you know what else hurts our mental health? Having to conform to unhealthy work schedules. Capitalism teaches us that our lives are only valuable depending on how much output we can produce, and therefore our managers at our 9-to-5s are expecting us to come in early, work through lunch, and also work late. I'm still at a loss as to how I'm supposed to have a 40-plus hour work week and manage a family at the exact same time. The concept eludes me. Not to mention, the impacts of an unhealthy work schedule are compounded when you throw on top of that having to deal with microaggressions and unconscious bias day in and day out. Growing up, my mom would work 40 plus hours per week at a job that she absolutely hated, but it paid the bills, and she would spend at least 2 hours each way commuting back and forth. By the time she got home, the only thing that she had energy to do was to maybe cook dinner, pass out after watching a few hours of TV. And I'm still at a loss as to how she was able to raise 3 kids while doing that as a single parent. I am having trouble wrapping my mind around doing that with 2 parents in the household. Unless maybe one isn't working, but then, yeah, that only works if you're rich. Honestly, other than a few workshops here and there about how to do desk yoga, your employer does not give 2 craps about your mental health. And that's why I'm so gung-ho about business. Because if you start your own business, you can set your own hours, set your own schedule. You can work at the times that make sense for you, make sense for your body, when you're most motivated, when you're most energized. And that, at the end of the day, is what ensures that you're actually producing something of value. Hours of work does not necessarily equate to value, and that is something that jobs cannot comprehend at this point in time. The concept of putting in necessary work versus busy work is huge. It's something that you have to have a fundamental understanding of. It's super important, and I actually intend to touch upon it in my next video. So make sure that you subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss that one. The final reason why entrepreneurship is so much better for Black mental health is because it creates more opportunities for growth and inspiration. And what is life without growth and inspiration? When you're creating a business, that is an act of creation. It is powerful. It's dynamic. You will learn so much about yourself through the process. You will learn the good, the bad, the ugly about yourself. You'll learn what you love to do, what you absolutely despise doing. You'll also learn about the hidden insecurities you had no idea existed, but you'll be so much better for it. And you'll do it in a much safer space, and you can actually choose your guide. You don't have to worry about juggling your own needs with the baggage and insecurities of someone who's supposed to be your leader. Through starting your own business, you actually have a greater chance of learning what it is that you love and growing into it. And your opportunities for growth and your income opportunities aren't capped by an employer. And even if by chance, if you do actually love your job and love where you work, employers very rarely see or pay your true value. Actually, I'm just going to go on a limb here and say they never actually see or pay your true value, ever, especially if you're a Black woman or a woman of color. And that is why I am so happy that I decided to trust myself and go on this path in this way. And if you're watching this and you're hesitant about where to start, then start by learning a simple content marketing system that'll help you to be first and foremost consistent, but also cost you $0 to implement and also help you to work on a part-time schedule. And ideally, look for an environment that caters to Black women and women of color. It is so important that this is done in a safe space where your learning is not hindered by a protective barrier that you have in place. So if this sounds like the guidance you've been looking for and the space that you've been looking to learn in, then check out the link in the description box and be sure to RSVP for my free live masterclass that's coming up, The Power of Part-Time Content Marketing. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram at A Tribe Called Liz. There, I'm giving you business strategy and mindset tips specifically for Black women and women of color. And when you do, don't forget to say hi because I'd love to hear from you. And before you go, be sure to check out these other videos here to fill your knowledge and inspiration meter. We could all use a boost. I'll see you next week.